Hey, how you doing? Slightly different format, but welcome to day 40. Can you believe it's day 40? This is the 40th day into the year. It seems like just yesterday I started out on this 365-day level up challenge. It's insane, really. More than 10% of the year has gone already. 11% of the year down. And we're here at day 40. So time is of the essence. I'm not going to waste any time today. I want to talk about rock stars and politicians and why, as an entrepreneur, we, you, I, you, me, whoever, we need to be more like rock stars and not politicians. So what exactly is that about? Let me explain. But before we do that, just let's talk about where we were yesterday. So if you joined the webinar yesterday, thank you so much for joining the webinar yesterday. It was a lot of fun doing the webinar. Hopefully everything went well for you. Never always perfect with the technology, but that's the fun of doing live webinars. If you missed the webinar, then there is a review video on my channel here. If you want to go back and review the webinar and get the notes as well, the PDF, if you can get that on my Entrepreneur Upgrade course now. I've added a new section where you can get all the archived webinars there. So just go on to the Entrepreneur Upgrades course, which is on up.school.io, and you can go to the last section where you can find the webinars. So there you go. So that's the webinar yesterday. Thank you so much. And that was all about the 7-day startup by Dan Norris. We had a good session yesterday. Hopefully that was informative for you. But let's talk about today. Let's talk about rock stars and politicians. And to do this, I want to go back to this book by Tim Ferriss, Tools of Titans. There's a really interesting episode in this book that I want to share with you because it makes me think, and hopefully it'll make you think as well as an entrepreneur. And there's a section in this where Tim, as I'll call him, Tim is talking to a friend of his over breakfast. He's talking to Naval Ravikant, Naval Ravikant's brother, who I believe is a venture capitalist investor. And basically at the time, Tim Ferriss had experienced a lot of success, so he's already invested in Uber, Facebook, Twitter, a whole bunch of other startups, and he's been very successful. He's had a very successful publishing career and is a very well-established name now. He's got 4-Hour Work Week out. I think he's done 4-Hour Chef, maybe 4-Hour Body at that stage as well. And so basically he's at a key juncture in his life. You know, he's thinking about his next step. And he's made a lot of money, and he's thinking now, because he's getting a lot of people approach him about investment, is does he now take this and become a full-time venture capitalist? Because he lives in San Francisco, right next to the valley. It makes sense. Add 2 and 2 together, and you've got a really powerful business. So he's talking to his friend over breakfast, and he asks his friend, who's experienced in these matters, he says, how do I become a VC? How do I set up a VC fund? Because that would be, for him, the next natural step in his progression from being an author to being a well-known name to being an investor, now to being an institutionalized investor. He could be sitting on top of making many, many millions of dollars. And his friend turned around to him and said, you know what? I've seen people come up to you at your events crying because they lost 100 pounds as a result of reading the 4-Hour Body. I've seen people lives change as a result of the stuff that you have written. You will never have that impact on people's lives as a venture capitalist. And that made Tim Ferriss think, because it all comes back to that point about making a change in people's lives. You know, how do you touch people's lives? You know, as a venture capitalist, it's very difficult to touch people's lives. As Naval Ravikant's brother said, you know, you're replaceable. Whereas writing a book, or whatever it is that may be the way that you can communicate with people, you can touch people's lives. And Seth Godin, my favourite author, he asks this question, which I believe is one of the most powerful questions that we need to ask ourselves as entrepreneurs. And this brings me on to the question for today, why are we talking about rock stars and politicians? But I'll get to there in a minute. But Seth Godin says, will people miss you when you're gone? Think about what you do. If people won't miss you if you stop doing what you're doing, then it's a very difficult business to make money out of. It's a very difficult business to market, to grow, to be remembered by. I hope that people will miss my webinars and my live shows when I'm gone. Let's say it happens tomorrow. Could happen. Anything can happen. I hope people will miss that. There'll be a little hole in their lives. It may be very little, but it exists as a result of me not being there. So I'm adding some kind of value. Now, you might not be doing live TV. You might not be doing broadcasts like me, but whatever it is you're doing, whether you're fixing people's websites or photography or selling B2B services, we all have some capacity to be missed whilst we're gone. It's just how we go about doing it. Now, this brings me to rock stars and politicians and why we entrepreneurs need to be more like rock stars and not like politicians. Now, the picture here is Mick Jagger and David Bowie. Obviously, David Bowie passed away last year. And a lot of people missed him when he was gone. I think he was 63 when he died. And, when he went, everybody who was touched by his life and his music started thinking about what he had done in his life and started looking back on his life and thinking about his contribution and how he had changed attitudes and ideas and so on. And he really, for some people, was missed. He created a real attachment and real sense of love with his fans. I was just wondering, when was the last time anybody felt like that about a politician? In most cases, people are pleased to get rid of politicians. Thank God that person's gone. People don't have that kind of connection with politicians. I know they do a very different job, but that person, that young guy or young girl setting out on their path, their career, so to speak, has to make that choice when they're young. Like, I want to be a rock star or I want to be a politician. They choose that choice. They choose that path, right? So they either become a rock star or a politician. It's the same way that we can build our businesses, either as rock stars or politicians. Now, think about a politician. If you become a politician, what is the goal of being a politician? It's being elected, right? And how do you win that game? How do you win the game of being elected? Well, you have to win 51% of the vote. In most instances, you have to get the most votes, right? That's the game. So everybody playing that game becomes tuned to the rules of that game. And as people become successful in that game, they learn. So it attracts a kind of person who's well suited to that game, right? Who's well suited at winning 51% of the vote. So to win 51% of the vote, you have to please everyone, right? You have to please people. You have to say what people want to hear. And that's why politicians are surrounded by teams of people, teams of media specialists, teams of communication people, PR execs. So everything that politician says is edited. They go through it with a fine tooth comb and they make sure it doesn't offend anyone. Politicians don't write their own speeches. And that's not an issue. But, if a rock star doesn't write their own music, that's a real issue. That's not, we don't see them as a real rock star. We see them as a fake, like a boy band that's put together, manufactured. Whereas politicians do that all the time. They have speech writers. And you know what? This is the really interesting thing. And I guess one thing that really bugs me about politicians is that when do you ever see a politician? The only time you ever see a politician is when they come knocking on your door wanting a vote. You know, please vote for me. I need your support. I need your vote. And you know what? They come and tell you what they're going to do for you and how they're the right choice for you. And then they get elected and you never see them again. You don't see them again for another 4 or 5 years. You try and contact them, they're not interested. They've got what they want and now they're gone. Whereas with a rock star, it's different. You know, rock stars don't come knocking at your door saying, can you buy my latest album, please? I need your support. They don't do that. Instead, the way that a rock star touches people's lives and communicates with their customers is they create something. They go out there and they create an event, a rock concert, and people come to them. You know, they create an experience where people come to them and, you know, you go there with your friends and you have an event, an experience which you'll probably remember for the rest of your life. You know, rock stars don't go out there and beg for support. And they don't care. Here's the thing about a rock star, they don't need 51% of the vote. A politician needs the biggest possible mass of votes to win. Therefore, they can never say what they truly want to say. Whereas a rock star is different. And here's the interesting thing, right? Take the 7 best-selling rock stars ever. 7 best-selling musicians ever. Who are they? You've got Elvis Presley, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Madonna, and Elton John. All have sold more than 250 million albums or records, according to Wikipedia. So go through that list again. Elvis Presley, the Beatles, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, Rolling Stones, Elton John, Madonna. Now here's what's really interesting. If any of those rock stars had... No, let me turn that on its head. If any politician had ever lived a life of any of those rock stars, and there's the best-selling rock stars in the world, they never would have got elected. They would never have been successful. So think about it. Like Elvis Presley, you know, when Elvis Presley started out, he was too black for most radio DJs to get airplay. That was hugely controversial. You think about the Beatles. You know, experimentation with drugs. Paul McCartney got arrested with, protesting war. Sorry, Paul McCartney got arrested for carrying marijuana. John Lennon grew his hair and his beard and occupied a bed in Amsterdam and protested against the war. Yeah, the Rolling Stones, again, arrested, possession of drugs. Led Zeppelin, hugely controversial. Satanism. Pink Floyd, again, all different kinds of anti-establishment messages there. Madonna, sexuality. Elton John, openly gay. Drugs. Politicians couldn't live this life, and that's the interesting thing about rock stars, is that they don't give a shit. They don't have to give a shit. But at the end of the day, which of these do we miss the most? People don't cry when politicians die. Some people celebrate. But people cry when rock stars die. Because they leave a huge hole in people's lives, right? They've created something for that person, some emotion, which you can't take away. So, when it comes to building a business and being an entrepreneur, we have to think more like rock stars. Is that how can we create something for this person, this experience that they'll miss when I'm not here to do that, right? Rather than the logic, it's the emotion. And, it's about being more sort of human in doing this, right? A politician stands in front of 10,000 people and surrounded by bulletproof glass, has a whole security complement behind him to protect him, lives in fear of assassination, lives in fear of political party, lives in fear of his friends who's going to turn against him, lives in fear of the people who are going to turn against him, and therefore lives his life with fear and protection, right? How, by contrast, a rock star stands in front of a crowd of 10,000 people and is touching the hands of those people, and will stand in front of 10,000 people and tell those 10,000 people a story about when he was a kid or when he was a teenager and this girl dumped him. Effectively, that's every love song we've ever known, right? So my point is that, rock stars stand there vulnerable, naked, in front of their tribe, their audience, their people. And that is why they will be missed when they're gone. So, what does that mean for us as entrepreneurs? Well, it's the same. It's that, we can try and be like politicians, which is we can try and please everybody. We can try and not offend anyone. We can try and be careful about what we say, edit what we say, try and be more mainstream, water down our message. Or we can do something that scares us. We can expose a little bit of ourselves. Speak from the heart. Be an entrepreneur beyond the bullshit. The bullshit meaning, the masks we hide behind in business, right? You see me here, like I'm wearing a t-shirt, I'm unshaved, but this is it. I don't give a shit if nobody likes this video, right? Because I know some of you guys will do, right? But I'm not out there to present to 50,000 people, getting people to like me, because I'm not delivering my message for those people. I'm not a politician, and therefore I don't mind about what I say. I say what I say, and that for me is like learning to live more like a rock star. Because I'm happier if 100 people love my message than 10,000 people like it. And it's the same with your marketing. We need to be happier if 100 customers love what we do rather than 10,000 people like it. Because it's so easy when you think about that in the context of social media now. I need all these Facebook likes. Who gives a fuck about Facebook likes? At the end of the day, that doesn't mean anything for your business, right? You can get 1 million Facebook likes, but can you get one person to email you and tell you that what you did for them changed their lives? That one email is worth 1 million likes. And it goes back to that point that I started with here. If we go full circle back to Tools of Times. Somebody walking up to Tim Ferriss and saying, in tears, you helped me change my life for the better. And I think that's what we have to strive towards. Doesn't matter what you do. You could be doing that in a number of different ways. But the point is, it's possible. Whatever we do, we can be more like a rock star and less like a politician in our approach to business. What do you think? Do you think you could be more like a rock star in what you do? Does it seem so far-fetched that you can't even imagine being a rock star in what you do? You could be an app developer. You think, what the hell is Rockstar's got to do with app development? Well, maybe it has, because maybe you can develop stuff from the heart, stuff that people love, rather than getting 1 million downloads from people who don't really give a shit. Maybe you can get 1,000 downloads from people who love what you do and not edit it. See, here's, I think, the problem for us entrepreneurs. We end up editing our voice, our story, our language, so we can fit in, so we can be accepted. And that's a real crime at the end of the day, because what we need to be doing is finding our voice, not hiding behind layers. If I was sitting here in a really glossy studio, with a professional backdrop and in a suit and a tie, that's me hiding behind layers. But it's not what I'm trying to get across as a message, you know, as a lifestyle entrepreneur. Lifestyle entrepreneurs is about being honest and being an individual and being me, trying to be more like a rock star in my approach. And some people are going to hate it. Some people are going to watch this video and go, who is this idiot? But, you know, it's kind of like listening to an album. If you listen to an album and you think, this is crap, it's fine, move on. You know, the rock stars, Mick Jagger doesn't need you to like his music. You know? He's not out there trying to get 51% of the people in the world to like his music. Doesn't need to. All he needs is 5% who love it. And look how successful they've been. You know, they make $250 million a year from touring. You know, this guy's 70 plus years old. He's just had a baby. You know, if a politician had that, there'd be all hell let loose. So that's my message today. Hopefully that works. Hopefully that resonates with you. Be more like a rock star and not a politician. Because it's so easy. Politician is the comfortable approach to building your business. It's the comfortable approach to marketing, because that's what everybody's ever done for the last 50 years. But we live in a different era, my friends. So, day 40 is coming to a close, literally, here in Japan. It's 11 o'clock at night. And even us rock stars need to put down our guitars and get some sleep. So thank you so much for watching my video. I'll be back here tomorrow for day 41, which is Friday here in Japan. The show still goes on. I'm still touring. Going out there and gigging. I'm out there every day. So hopefully you can join me tomorrow. And as I said, you know, I don't need you to love this, like this. But I would appreciate a like. Sorry. I would appreciate a like, just so you can find other people. Other people can find this video as well, if you think the message is worth sharing. Alright then, my rockstar friends. I'll catch you tomorrow. Day 41. You know the drill. Let's make 2017 the best year possible. And hopefully, we can share that journey together. I'll catch you tomorrow.